Come on, Livingston, we're gonna go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We're gonna go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across. It's turned in. It's Pittman who's got it. Livingston leads.
Can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead.
Man, you score.
If we march to
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We're gonna go.
Hello and welcome back to TalkLivi, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Andy, and today I'm joined by Ewan and Callum Waugh. Callum Brown misses out again this week, unfortunately. So, boys, how's it going?
Not too bad. Obviously a bit disappointed from yesterday's performance and result, which we'll obviously get onto. But apart from that, all good.
If we don't talk about football this week, it's fine, mate.
Yeah, we're all a bit despondent. You'll probably hear that in our wee sort of review of the game, but we'll see how we can spin a positive from it. We probably can, but we'll see how we can get on. But as a quick one this week, we'll be looking back at that St Mirren game, another disappointing afternoon for the Lions. We picked the bones out of that one. And finally, we'll take a look at our next game. It's our last 16 cup tie with Championship side Ayr Utd. Can we get back to winning ways and bring back some much needed confidence to the team?
It was another huge game for Livi as we welcomed 11th place St Mirren to the Tony Macaroni Arena on Saturday, with both teams struggling for form going into it, which was deemed a must-win on last week's episode. We didn't win. We produced a pretty inept performance and fell to a 1-0 defeat. Another defeat at home. Is this now a cause for concern, boys?
Yeah, I would say it is. I think the thing that's kind of kept my hopes up is that I think we've still looked threatening in most games and we've looked like we can score goals. But yesterday in the Motherwell game, generally we didn't even look like a threat in both those games. Yesterday, Jet had an early chance, which I think he should have done better with. The rebound off Alan Forrest's effort. But other than that, we done nothing. You know, I think what was really frustrating first half is we had a lot of the ball, but St Mirren were quite happy to go and sit with 10 men behind the ball and kind of leave Abika up top on his own. They didn't offer anything other than really dead balls, and I said that, messaged my dad throughout the game, and I messaged them at half time and went, they're causing us problems from, we've looked ropey defending cross balls and set pieces. And that's where the goal came from. Again, you know, second phase of a corner kick, and you know, somebody's left on the edge of the box able to have a pop at goal, and it's obviously taking a deflection and gives Stryjek no chance. But you know, first half, as I was touching on, we were just playing in front of St Mirren, and there was 2 or 3 times where Jason Holt picked up the ball and just cut out 3 or 4 passes and hit the touchlines with either Devlin, Lawson or Forrest. And we got in behind them 2 or 3 times doing that when we just sped up the play. But second half, we didn't even have any form of part in the play at all. It was just an alien performance. It just looked so disjointed. I think the decisions to put Sibbald wide, I think you're not getting the best out of one of your best players, in my opinion. He's not getting enough of the ball. Lawson at left back didn't work. You've got the team looked really imbalanced on that side. And I know we've talked about it a few times, but Jet's just not doing it for me. He's really not. It's not working in my eyes. I think we're going to have to expect that he's not going to do the kind of the donkey work type thing that Dykes would have done. But at the same time, I just expect more from him, a bit more effort. Running off the ball, closing folk down, and he just doesn't offer that same threat in behind. And I'm really struggling to think of any positives about the game. I was really despondent after it. Normally I can pick a positive out of a performance, but there really wasn't any yesterday. And to add to that, obviously, there's a lot of talk in the papers today. We'll probably all touch on it. Gary Holt's comments after the game, which, having spoke to the gaffer many times, the gaffer's normally quite upbeat, and I think hearing him say stuff like that I think it just shows that it's not a happy place at the moment, our dressing room, the form in the league in particular. So yeah, I think that sums it up for me, is that the fact that the gaffer's even really struggling. Normally he can pick a positive as well, but even he can't. And yeah, don't know what your thoughts are, but maybe one of you can pick out a positive. I highly doubt Callum Waugh can, because he's one of the most negative people I know.
There is not a chance after that yesterday that there's any positives to take for that. But Andy, how do you feel after yesterday, mate?
Well, firstly, I just want to say, Ewan, it's the first time I've heard you being so despondent about a Livingston game for so long. You're usually the positive one on the podcast. We generally pick out the faults, you pick out the positives, but I can tell you're really despondent, and it kind of sums up the fan base just now. Reading on Twitter and Facebook, everybody's of the same opinion that it wasn't good enough. We looked tactically inept. I didn't know what we were playing. We were hitting and hoping. Rather than, it's gone from one extreme to another for me. At the start of the season, we were playing a lot more possession-based football, and we actually looked quite good. Obviously, individual errors cost us a lot of points earlier in the season, but we're playing some decent football. Over the last few weeks, we've gone away for that, and we've went to kick it long and hope for the best. Obviously, that's not the tactic, but that's how it comes across. And you touched on it with Jet. You're not getting anything from him. For me, I agree with you. He doesn't move. When he loses a header, he doesn't chase down. He looks disinterested. Really disappointing. Tactically, like you touched on it, the left back situation, we wrote it down. It's just a strange one that you've got three perfectly good left backs sitting on the bench when we play a midfielder there. We're fitting round pegs and square holes, or square pegs and round holes, should I say, in terms of the team. Let's get back to playing players in the position. I think the other one that everybody touched on, and I say it all the time, is Marvin Bartley. We're not seeing the same player for him as what we did last season at all. The only positive I can take from it is Jason Holt. I thought he was the only player that showed for the ball, tried to create things, open up. I think we became a bit too predictable in a way. We're trying to win these second balls, but teams know that now, so they're flooding the midfield, winning those second balls, and we don't look like you said, Ewan. The worrying thing is we don't look like scoring now. Defensively, we look really open. We don't look like scoring. We're going to lose games 1-0 all the time because there's an error in us. We don't look like opening teams up anymore. And, this diagonal, okay, it worked a couple of times with Jason Holt, but again, it's too predictable from us. Teams know how to set up against us. There's a lot of question marks over team selection and substitutions for me, and I'm not going as far as shouting for Gary Holt to leave. I think he is the man to take us forward, but you said it yourself, Ewan, that he's in there questioning himself now, and rightly so. Let's be honest, rightly so, because the team selection has been a bit strange. We touched on the left back situation. I agree with Sibbald as well. One of our most influential players earlier in the season, we've now shoved him out wide. We made a big hullabaloo about signing Josh Millen, how we couldn't. We've been trying for years to bring a right winger in. We've now got one and we're not playing him. Jet offers nothing. there's a lot of question marks for me. There's very little, if any, positives from that game, and such a big game as well. In years gone by, those type of games would have brought the best out in us. We'd have went into the game full of motivation, gone right at it for the first whistle. We didn't do that. St Mirren were comfortable, and they won the game comfortably. At no point in the game did I feel we were on top. At no point in the game did I feel like we were going to score. I was hoping for a 0-0 draw in the game because that was the way it was going. And it doesn't surprise me these two teams are at the bottom because St Mirren offered very little as well. But the worrying thing is that's 2 defeats out of 2 against them. We've lost at home to Hamilton. These are the games we need to at least be picking something up from, but we've picked up 0 points for 9, and that's the worrying thing for me.
Yep, I think both of you are absolutely spot on. I think the lineup yesterday left a lot to be desired for. Also for me, playing 2 left-footed centre-halves, when you've got 2 right-footed centre-backs on the bench that can come in, that give you a bit more balance across your backline. The amount of times that Brown swung a boot at the ball and scuffed the clearance and everything like that and put more pressure on us, I didn't think he had a good game. Bartley's not controlling the middle of the park like he did last season, but continues to start every single game. Drop him. No one's bigger than the badge that they're wearing on their chest. No one's bigger than the club. If someone needs dropped to spur a reactions, drop him. Move Sybil back into the centre of the park. You've left Robinson and Tiffany on the bench yesterday when we're chasing the game. You moved Jet out wide. We've continued with the same formation when it's not been working. You then put another striker on and just put him up front instead of actually changing it, going 4-4-2. There was so many weird decisions yesterday that left a lot to be desired for, and the negativity that's coming out of the fan base is justified. The amount of negativity that's going on and round, and you look in life at the moment, folk are just wanting a little bit of, say they go and turn up and we get beat and we put in a good performance, you can go, right, okay, there's positives to take from that. Yesterday there was nothing. Ewan said you've had the pot shot for Alan Forrest from 25 yards. The keeper's spilled and it's came out to Jet, and Jet's he's got to bust the net. He's got to put that away. I just don't think that. I want to take back my positive words that I said about him for his performance against Ayr. I think it was more down to the calibre of opposition that we were playing last week rather than him as a player. I think everyone is just very, very despondent. And how many times can Gary Holt, do you know with that interview that I seen yesterday, how many times can he give the same interview that he says, individual mistakes, boys have got to get better, we're not defending our box properly? He's getting pissed off with it. And you could tell that by the interview yesterday. Obviously, what he's saying to the players aren't taking in what he's trying to tell them to go out in the park on a Saturday and produce. This is where it's starting to get annoying. And I agree with Andy. I think Gary Holt's the manager to take us forward. I think he can take us forward in what he's done previously. But the players need to have a long, hard look at themselves. Do they think that the performances they've put in so far this season have been good enough and up to the standards? No. And that's the top and bottom of it. You're not going to keep a fan base happy by sitting down and losing the games and with the teams in and around you. You need to go out and put in a performance and make a statement. This was going to be a massive run of fixtures for us. And look at the negativity coming out of it.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, and I get, where fans are coming from, and I kind of mentioned it a few weeks ago in terms of the number of changes we've made into the squad this season. It does seem a bit strange that you've got the likes of Jack McMillan sitting on the bench, Aaron Taylor-Sinclair sitting on the bench when they were so successful last season. I get that we're trying to improve things and improve the squad, but let's be honest, results haven't shown that. We argued at the start of the season that we have got a better squad, and to be fair, I don't think that's a wrong opinion to have. I feel like we do have a stronger squad, but it's not working. And I agree with you, Callum, we're being slightly too loyal to some players. Marvin is obviously the captain, and I don't want to criticise too much, but I think what I said earlier is fair. I think he will admit himself that he's not been up to the same standards as what he was last season. You've got Sybil playing out wide, who could quite easily slot in there beside Jason Holt, who I think's arguably been one of our best players this season. I think that's been a successful signing. But you touched on in the group chat, Ewan, that we made some very strange signings that we probably didn't need to make. The likes of Serrano, albeit he's been fairly decent, but again, it goes back to we're not winning games, we're not performing well, so something needs to change. We had Jack McMillan, who played left back. We had Ian Taylor-Sinclair, who played left back. Why did we need to go out and sign him? You know, Jet has been, I mean, don't want to go in too hard on him, but it's been a massive sort of disappointment. He offers nothing up front for me. You know, the ball just goes over the top of him. If it comes to him, he loses the ball easily. He looks disinterested. And I think the worrying thing is we were warned about that from certain fan bases. I think QPR fans came on and mentioned that if you get the Jet that we had, as in QPR, then you'll not get much out of him at all. And it's kind of proven the case, unfortunately.
My biggest worry, and I've said it pretty much all season in terms of defending, is the last 5 or 6 games in the league, teams are not needing to work for goals against us. Teams aren't needing to do anything creative. They're not needing, how often have we heard the last 2-3 seasons, teams hate going to Livingston, right? Oh, you'll be in for a tough afternoon against Livi. They're not getting that just now. Teams are not getting that. You look at the 2 goals we conceded against Motherwell, the goal we conceded against Ross County, the goal we conceded yesterday. It's piss poor. It's the best way to put it. It's just piss poor defending. And if we keep defending, we've developed bad habits, but it's a bad combination of habits now, which is we're not scoring, we're not looking threatening, and we're conceding sloppy goals, which is a recipe for disaster. And as positive as I normally try to be, like I said, one of my worries at the start of the season was doing a Partick Thistle. When Thistle finished top 6 and the following season had a bit of a slow start, and they're like, nah, we'll be fine, we'll get through it. And you just kind of gradually slip, and then you find yourself, come the split, going, oh shit, we're in it.
Yep.
We're in trouble here. And we need to sort it out pronto. Like, it needs sorted out very quickly over the next few weeks, because I said last week, this next run of games it'll define whether we're going to be in a scrap or whether we can push higher up the table. Well, that performance yesterday has the makings of scrap written all over it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, it wasn't just the result that was disappointing. It was the performance. I mentioned it in my little spiel there that, it was worrying, very worrying. We've done a lot of talking about criticising, and we try not to be too negative on the podcast. We had a comment on Twitter about us being some of the most positive fans you can get out there. A lot of that is because we don't want to criticise the club too much. We've got a great relationship with the club and we want to keep it that way. But sometimes we do have to just call out a bad performance and a bad display. And I think yesterday was undoubtedly. But where do we go from here then? How do we improve things? Because, we've got a big squad. We've got a lot of players. I kind of touched on it earlier that maybe we need to just have a complete overhaul and change it up in terms of the starting 11 and change the system and change the style a little bit. But what do you think, Callum? What do you think? What do we need to do to improve things? Obviously, confidence is a massive thing in football, but how do we get that confidence back? Obviously, winning games, but what do we do to try and win the games?
For me, the first thing we need to do is get a balance across the team. Yesterday, we're playing 2 right footers on the left-hand side. We're up against Marcus Fraser, who isn't an out-and-out right-back, that we could have probably got some joy out of and put some balls into the box, which may have benefited Jet more. I think we need that balance. We need a left-back. What did Taylor-Sinclair do towards the end of last season that's justified him getting dropped? The games he's came in so far this season, I've not seen him put a foot wrong. Jack McMillan, every time he played last season, swept up the awards for the Young Player of the Year, and he played a chunk of the season at left-back in the first 6 months. Obviously, he is right-footed, but he still offered something going down the left-hand side for us.
I would talk about Jack McMillan. He came in for the Rangers game and played in behind Forrest on the left-hand side. And he kept one of the most potent right-hand sides in Scottish football, in Tavernier and Hadji, quiet. he gave them absolute zero joy down that side. That's what you get with Jack. He's reliable. 3 seasons he's been at the club, he's never put a foot wrong, really. And I don't understand how he's now seems like he's out in the cold in the squad. I don't understand that one. As you say, Taylor Sinclair was excellent when he came in last year, November time. He was excellent. And I don't understand why we need to go and sign a left back. Granted, I've been fairly impressed with Serrano, but now you're sitting with 3 left backs, but now all 3 are on the bench for a centre midfielder. It's bizarre. Like, there was part of me, but Serrano was obviously injured for the Ross County game where Lawson came in, and I don't know if they maybe saw it. He'll offer you a bit more attacking threat in terms of wanting to get forward with the ball. So I thought maybe it's tactical. But then you have Serrano on the bench who played last week, so he was obviously fit. And you go, well, it's just a bit baffling, but I think we could go on about it all day, to be honest.
Do you know, I was going to say, Ewan, if you look at last season in terms of the way we set up, who have we lost out of the first team? Lyndon Dykes and Stevie Lawless. Now we've replaced Stevie Lawless with Alan Forrest, who's been just as successful, arguably our player of the season so far. And Lyndon Dykes, obviously, we've struggled to replace him, but we've got Jet in there and Tiffany, who's shown glimpses of what he's capable of. So why have we changed almost an entire starting 11 when we've got the players that were so successful last season? We've replaced the two mainstays in the team, with players that are capable. So why have we altered so much from last season's success? That's the question I think we've got to try and answer. Was there any point in doing that?
I get that you always want to progress as a club, right? And you don't want to stand still. But I don't know if they were just wanting to provide more competition, make the squad a bit healthier and try and advance it in that sense and just keep the competition up and keep players on their toes. But so far it's not really worked. And I can't put my finger on it because, as I say earlier on, I was talking about how, we have lost games, but I've been impressed with how we've played in a lot of them. Like, we've been well in games and we've been, creative and looked a threat, and I've liked some of the style of play that we've had in games. But as I say, the last couple of home games in particular in the league have been appalling. To be honest, the performances haven't been up to it. And as I said, they need to do something. They need to get something going again. It's obviously folk will be deflated in that dressing room, and I know the gaffer's had a couple of tough runs of form whilst he's been in charge, and we've came through it. Now, I agree with both of you. I think he's the man for the job. I think he will get through it, but I think he needs to get a couple of results going very, very soon.
Yeah, I think obviously you can hear us. We're, like I mentioned earlier, we're usually quite positive on the podcast, but we're all a bit despondent. We're all a bit scunnered with the performance and result, and it's worrying times. We're not going to lie, it's worrying times. But with a bit of luck, and a bit of fight and a bit of effort on the training pitch, because I'm sure the gaffer and Davey and the coaching team are working really, really hard with the players. It'll be a lot to do with confidence. So hopefully next weekend in the cup we can pick up a win. Take that into the league form and gain that confidence again to bring us all back up and hopefully hear our positive selves again on the podcast.
Betfred Cup takes centre stage next weekend, and it's an ideal distraction from our lacklustre league form. We face Ayr Utd in the last 16 tie, who currently sit 4th in the championship, having won 2, drawn 2 and lost 1. It's not going to be an easy game, this one. Many people have this down as a shock. Given our form so far, it won't come as much of a surprise though. Having said all that, this gives us an opportunity to right some of the wrongs, maybe try some new things. So how do we go into this game? You see any major changes across the team? Obviously, we have made changes in the cup ties so far.
Yeah, I think this is a big game now. Obviously, St Mirren was huge, but I think this has escalated into a huge game for Gary and the team, and it's not going to be easy. You know, United had a great win at the weekend there against Dundee, and by all means they gave us a really, really difficult game last season. You touched on it last week, Ewan, that they gave us a really, really tough game. But we need to stand up to the criticism, because criticism's going to come our way undoubtedly. That it already has from us and from the fan base in general. So we need to stand up and be counted in this game, and we need to show why we're at a level we're at in the Premiership. There will undoubtedly be changes. I'd like to see a major overhaul. We kind of touched on it earlier on there. I'd like to see an overhaul in the team. You know, bring back some cohesion in there. Bring back sort of what we know. McMillan, Taylor Sinclair, Ambrose. I'm not even convinced Guthrie's been at it this season, so maybe Fitzwater in there. I'd like to see Josh Mullen and Alan Forrest playing. I think Holt and Sibbald offer something different. I think this is a great opportunity to use this as an exercise to change things up and give a lot of the players a boot up the arse that they're needing. You know, and it's a chance for others to stake their claim in the team for the league games. For me,
I think we should basically be going with majority of the team that started. Probably our best performance of the season is Tannadice away, Dundee United. Having a look at the team, I've got the team up here on my phone just now, and the only change I would make from that is I would drop Bartley and I would bring Sibbald into the centre of the park. I would go along the lines of what me and Ewan constantly say, that we're a better team with Scott Robinson. When Scott Robinson starts, we look a better team. He offers us something different, and I would be playing him as part of the forward three with Alan Forrest and Pittman and Tiffany up front. I think Tiffs has got to start. If we keep going with this idea of Jet, then it's not working. It's not worked since he came in, so why continue with it? The games that Tiffany started, look at what he done with the Celtic defence at Parkhead. Look at the games he's offered. Look at the running he did against Dundee United. Some of our best performances probably of the season, when we actually started to have a little bit of hope. And I think that's what we've got. You've got to play a left foot and a right footer at your two centre-halves. We've got the players there to do it. Do it. Give yourself balance across the back line. For me, it's got to be Guthrie and Ambrose. I would play Taylor Sinclair or Serrano. And then you've got the choice between Devlin or McMillan. And no one's guaranteed a starting place at the moment. And I think that's the way it needs to be. And if we have to go and make 6 or 7 changes, we go and make 6 or 7 changes. No one's bigger than, as I said earlier, is bigger than the badge on the chest. It's going to be a very, very hard game. Ayr aren't going to come here and make it easy for us. We're going to be it's going to be a proper cup tie. And I think it's going to be very, very difficult. They've got a number of threats as well. And you look at I'm sure Michael Moffat scored his 100th goal yesterday for Ayr. They've got the boy Cammy Smith on loan from Dundee United. I'm sure he scored yesterday as well. He's always been a decent player. And they've also signed Innes Cameron and from Kilmarnock on loan and Bruce Anderson for Aberdeen on loan. I don't know if those guys played earlier on in the competition, so I'm not sure if they're cup tied, but they've got firepower. And our defence hasn't looked solid. So they're probably coming into it thinking they can get something out of the game against us. So I think it's going to be very, very interesting come Saturday. I think that it's one of those ones that we either have to go and put down a stamp, we have to go and actually prove what we want to go and play like for the rest of the season. I know I said that last week for the game on Saturday, we never done it.
I mean, it's Ayr United. I'm sure the gaffer doesn't need any motivation. I'm sure he wouldn't want to lose a game to Ayr. No, he's not too fond of that part of Ayrshire. So, I'm sure he'll be up for the game. I'm sure there's a few ex-Ayr boys in our team as well. I'm sure they'll want to impress as well, playing up against them. But it's going to be a really tough game. I touched that on the last podcast. They're notoriously quite a good cup side. They're quite often cause an upset. They're always a bit of a banana skin. But as I said, kind of compared it to the Inverness game last year, it's always one of those teams you never really fancy in a cup tie because they have a bit of a reputation for causing a shock here or there. And they'll come into it and they'll fancy their chances of beating us with our recent form. I agree with you. I think we need to see a few changes. But I don't want us just making changes because it's a cup game. that's the thing. You're talking about it. Ring the changes, but are we just ringing the changes because it's a cup tie and it's not the league? I think it makes more of a statement if we rang the changes in the league for me. But yeah, I could see multiple changes again to freshen it up a bit. I'd quite like to see Fitzwater get another run out personally. He picked up the injury against Aberdeen, but the week before he'd put in a very good performance against Rangers. I thought he was excellent in that game, probably the best player in the park for us certainly. And the following week against Aberdeen, he was pretty decent as well. Got an assist as well, saw a different side of his game in that. So I'd like to see him maybe get a run out. Because let's be honest, the defence isn't covering himself in glory right now. So you need to try something different. If don't keep going with something that's clearly not working, type thing. I think it's a good opportunity to maybe try something like Colton and Sibbald sitting in front of the back four. I think they're two players that love getting on the ball and they could dictate the game for us a bit more. We've seen obviously Sibbald's added a lot to his game in terms of his doggedness in the middle of the park and kind of picking up second balls, scrapping 50-50s. It's something we didn't expect from Sibbald when he came in. And I've touched on it many a time with Tiffany. I agree with you, Callum. I really want to see him get a run out again. I think our best performances this season have been when he's played up top. Other than Dykes for a couple of games, he's definitely been the best option we've had. I think he just offers you a variety, and I think defences don't like playing against him because he's just a bit unpredictable. You don't know whether he's going to drop shot, you don't know whether he's going to try and spin you, play off the shoulder, run the channel, or just pick the ball up and run at you type thing. I think that's what Tiffs offers you. He just offers you a lot of variety in his movement. And again, I agree. I want to see Scott Robinson back in the team. I think Robbo epitomises what we're about, the type of player he is, his work rate and everything like that. I think that's needed right now. I think we need that type of player back in the team just now to try and get things going, but also have Robbo in the team because I think he's a really clever player and I do think we're a much better team when he plays. So, yeah, I think there's a few changes we need to make, but I'm not particularly confident for it. I have a big feeling that the way we're playing right now that Ayr are going to take advantage of our current form.
Here's a question then. We mentioned a whole host of players there. We never mentioned Steve Lawson, who you could argue again was okay in the game the other day, out of position. His more natural position, and he said it himself, is in the midfield or in that holding midfield role. Does he stake a claim for that position over Hole or Sibbald? And the other one, which is controversial, and I don't think this myself, but Pittman, does he need a break from the team? We're talking about trying to fit Robinson in. Is that the ideal place for Robinson in Pittman's position? Just off the back, making things happen behind Tiffany. Those two can switch positions constantly, make things a bit more fluid up front. Is that an option to consider?
I think we need to try something different. I think you could go and put Sibbald in as a 10, which I think everyone would say is his natural position is in that area of the park. You could put Lawson sitting in with someone. I'm a big fan of Lawson when he's played that, but he's not had that many games playing centre mid for us. There's certainly in a while he's not played there. So I would like to maybe see just his energy in the middle of the park more than anything. I think there's plenty of options that you could do, but something needs to change in order to try and spark a bit of a reaction. Because, as I say, you can't just keep going with something that's clearly not working. And we need to make a few changes and try and spark a bit of life back into our season.
Callum, is the cup, is it a good distraction or a bad distraction just now? Is it a good distraction from the mundane sort of bottom of the table in the league just now, or is it one of these ones that has came at a really bad time and you would rather just get cracking into a league game and get something going in the league?
I think it's one of those ones that we need to try something different. A cup game probably gives us that opportunity. We've probably reached a stage in the cup. If you gave us it at the start of the season, we go, right, okay, that's fine. We normally reach around this sort of stage every year. But normally there's a bit of a feel-good factor whenever we've got to this stage of the cup. The feel-good factor is massive for going into the next run of league games for us. I think if we can go and put a statement out in the cup, and a lot of people are probably saying this is a banana skin, Livingston are probably going to get beat, Ayr are going to be up for it, and I think we need to go and prove a lot of folk wrong. I think we need to go and, as I say, put that statement down that we're not here just to lie down for the rest of the season. We need to get that fighting spirit back. We need to get back to the dogginess. We need to be in folks' faces. We need to hunt in packs. We need to just start doing what I've probably said for the last few times is get back to the basics. Get back to doing what we're good at. Get away from this different style of play if it's not working. Let's go back to the basics. We've still got the players there that know how to play that style. Go back to it. Say folk want to hit us in the press for not being attractive to watch or anything like that. I couldn't care. Go get the points on the board. That's all I care about. But I think Saturday's massive for us trying to get back to that, getting back into that style of playing, getting back into the swing of things.
Do you not think though, Callum? I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier on that, we started the season playing some decent football, without getting the results, just individual errors. We've then proceeded to change that sort of possession-based football to the sort of hit and run or punt and chase style, almost the type of football that people criticise us for that got us results, but that's not kind of working because there's not the same energy levels. So how do we balance the two up? Because we obviously want to play a bit of football because we've got players who are capable of doing it. We've seen it earlier in the season. We played some good football playing that way, but we just didn't have the energy to chase in packs. We need to combine the two, don't we?
I think that the idea that we played punt and run last season is ludicrous. We played football in the right areas of the park. We got the ball over the halfway line and we got it down and we played. That's what I would say. We played balls into the channels, we chased it into the channels, we made the defenders face their own goals and we made them make decisions. So that's either putting out for a throw and we played there. We then start playing in their final third and we start... You can't say that we're constantly going to be playing a punt and run when we've got a forward three of Stevie Lawless, Scott Robinson and Scott Pittman in behind Dykes. We're not playing up to them to win flick-ons or anything. The boys got the ball down and they played some great football. I think that's what we need to get back to. This keeping the ball along the back line and playing it into midfield and then playing it like that, that's not working for us. Go away, get it up, get it forward. Then push further up the park, and force the other team into mistakes.
Nah, you're talking about getting that energy back, and I think that has a lot to do with the personnel. I think the two performances that have really stood out for me this season have both been away games. The away game at Motherwell and the away game at Tannadice. And the three that played in behind in both those games were Robinson, Pittman and Forrest. Now, Forrest is just a bundle of energy, as is Pittman, as is Robinson. And it's just their tenacity off the ball is, as I say, it epitomises how we play. But I think they also need the focal point that will do that as well. And that's where I want to see Tiffany come in. Because again, Tiffany's just a bundle of energy that will give you, he'll run all day long for you. And he'll do all the hard, work that a lone striker should do, in my eyes. Running channels, running in behind, offering that threat. So I think the two of the consistent things with our best performances this season and the kind of high energy that we've had in those games has come from the kind of front four. And I think that's where I would target, and that's the bit that needs to get sorted in my eyes. Because that's the performances came out of those guys to start with. They set the tone almost. The defending from the front aspect, and they do that with the press that they put in. So I think we need to do that against there.
Yeah, no, we've not really spoke too much about Ayr United. Obviously, we've mentioned their threats in front of goal. They've also got ex-Livi man Michael Miller there. Fond memories of him in his League One time. He obviously chose to leave the club. I'm sure he's still regretting that now, but fond memories of him. We will hear a little bit more about Ayr United. We're obviously recording a little preview podcast with the Super, which is an Ayr United dedicated podcast. So we'll get that out on our socials as well for you to have a listen to. But anyway, on to us. So we spoke about our sort of disappointment. You spoke earlier about your trepidation and your worry going into this game, Ewan. So it'll be interesting to hear your prediction for it. So we'll start off with you in terms of predictions. Ewan, what are you thinking?
I'm going to be positive. despite my in my head, there's just danger in my head, just alarm bells going. But I'm going to go.
Hearts leading your head there.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 Livi.
Okay, Callum, what you thinking for this?
I think it's going to be a draw and go all the way to penalties. Okay,
so we've got a Livi win, a draw, and I'm going to be Mr. Negative again. Seeing that's kind of spread well across, so one of us is surely going to get it right. I'm going to go for a 2-0 defeat. I'm struggling to find positives. I really am. I'm struggling to find positives. We don't look like scoring defensively. We're struggling. So yeah, I'm going to go a defeat in this one, unfortunately, and that bodes the question before we finish, and it's a hypothetical one again, so don't give me dog's abuse like you done on last week's podcast. So it's a hypothetical question, going by what the gaffer said this week in the press. If we lose to Ayr United, do we have to look elsewhere for a manager?
I personally, I can't see us. I don't think it would be us sacking Holt. I think what Holt's done, he's arguably been one of our most successful managers. And I think that in itself buys Holt time to try and fix it. And I don't think the current board are of the mentality of sacking. So I want to make it very clear, I don't want to see Gary go because I think he is the man for the job. I want to make that very, very clear. But as I said, I spoke to the gaffer multiple times. He's normally really bubbly, full of kind of high spirits. But to hear him say that makes you almost think that he's questioning it. And I think that would be the only way that the gaffer would leave, is if he personally doesn't think he's the man for the job anymore. But that doesn't strike me as the gaffer, which is what I find so worrying about his comments yesterday. But I don't think we are going to part company with Gary. I think it would be Gary parting company with us. If that's the only way I would ever see the gaffer leaving.
Alan, what's your thoughts on that one?
I've got to agree with you. I think I don't think that we'll push the button. I think if anything happens, it'll be Gary walking away. And do you know, actually going by the comments yesterday, it wouldn't actually surprise me if he's maybe not in charge on Saturday. I think that the way he was speaking, I think he sounds completely dejected. I don't think he's got that confidence running through his veins that he's had before, that he wants that feel-good factor. And he's always spoke about that he needs to keep that feel-good factor going. And say it's not there, I think Gary's a man of his word, that he probably wouldn't want to be there himself. So it wouldn't actually surprise me if there is potentially a change before then. And that will become from Gary.
I'm with you and Gary. Obviously, the gaffer, he doesn't strike me as the giving up type of person. No, he strikes me. He's battled hard. He always talks about battling hard through his life to get where he's at. And I think he'll continue to battle away and try and get the best out of the players. I agree. I want to reiterate that it was a hypothetical question. I'm 100% behind Gary Holt. I think what he's done over the last few years has been absolutely incredible. The rise from where we were to now under him, and I agree he's been one of our best ever managers, and I agree that buys him a lot of time. Questions will be asked if form does continue and we do continue to lose and we find ourselves at the bottom of the table. But for now, I think that he has a bit of time on his hands. I agree the board are the sacking mentality, and I also agree that if anything happens, it'll be his decision, not the club's decision. But hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we do get the win, and hopefully that encourages us in the league, and we get up the league and we get through in the cup, because we need something to lift our spirits for sure. That's it for this episode of TalkLivi. It's been a busy few weeks for the podcast, so thanks again to everyone who has tuned in and continues to listen to the podcast. We'll be back to our normal schedule from next weekend, so that'll be a podcast out on Sunday next week, looking back at the Ayr United game, plus a lot more.
You can find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also find all the links on our social media channels. We're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search TalkLivi to find us. However, if none of those options suit you, all you have to do is head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
So that's it for episode 19. Thanks again to everyone for listening. But for now, from Andy, Ewan and myself, have a great week.
Livingston, a love will never die. West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Ambervale. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, oh Livingston, we love it when you score. Livingston, oh Livingston, the Ambervale Lions roar. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realize our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the Premier Division.